station. We are so glad it's Friday, although that means nothing to us because we work straight through the weekend. But it's a great thing. What a privilege it is to be able to do something that you love
Yes.
for a living. So, we've got a lot to talk about today, but first we want you to tune in on Santita Jackson and Friends on Facebook. Please like and share. And meet us over on our new YouTube page, The Santita Jackson Show. Like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe. Go back and forth. Let's have some conversations in both places. Call us at 773 WCPT 773 as we talk about a whole lot of stuff today. Lady B, we've got a lot on the hopper. You know, Mayor Mike Bloomberg has emerged as this top tier candidate on the
Mhm.
strength of a more than $400 million media buy. And so I think he does merit a lot of attention for a whole lot of reasons. You know, how he's able to move into the top tier, what he stands for. I mean, there's
Mhm.
just so much that's at play here. So we're going to have Nancy Altman from Social Security Works, the nation's premier social security advocacy organization, and she has laid out a tremendous article in which he gives us his record on Social Security, and he's advocated for the cutting of Social Security for years. So we're going to talk about that in just a few minutes with Nancy Altman. And then at the top of the hour, we're going to have the gentleman Mike Crute from
Yes.
Milwaukee and Madison. He has two of the biggest radio stations up in Wisconsin. And he just came back from Nevada.
Yes.
Nevada, potato. And Nevada caucuses. What did he see out there? He did see Tom Perez and a lot of people out there because everyone wants to talk to them because that's where the Democratic convention is going to be, and they are the talk radio station, the progressive one in Milwaukee, so and in Madison. So we are going to talk with him about what he saw in Nevada. And then at the bottom of the hour, at the bottom of the next hour, we will talk with SEIU about the strikes that are occurring all across the country with these workers, healthcare workers, hospital workers are not able to, oh my goodness, they're not able to stay in the hospitals that they clean up, where they work. They're not able to do that because, you know, they're being paid such low wages, and so, you know, we're going to talk about it. If you all see some crazy squiggly things on my screen, we're going to work that out. This is really emoji. Oh, I think I just got it.
Yeah, you good. It was on before.
Oh,
You're good
okay,
now.
got it. This is great. This is great. So, Lady B, how you doing?
I'm doing
I
good.
told girl you and this microphone, you have a love-hate relationship with it. You want me on it, but you don't want to get on it yourself. Everybody, let's get to a few headlines before we bring on the great Nancy Altman of Social Security Works. Everybody, the Nevada caucuses. People have started voting early. They started voting early on Saturday, but the caucuses commence tomorrow. Tomorrow
Mhm.
on Saturday. And so, of course, keep it locked here on WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station. We will be covering that all day. And, of course, I'm going to be covering it on Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson on Sunday. We're going to talk about how they're supposed to work, what did happen, the caucus sites. There's so much that's going on. And I was reading a really interesting report from NBC News that said in Nevada what they have seen with these, as they've talked to caucus goers who are going to participate and who have participated. They're torn between who they believe can beat Trump and who they believe in.
Mm.
Yeah. And so I'm wondering, how's that going to work out? How will that play out in this caucus system where you really have ranked choice? And if
Right.
you do not, the person you really believe in, you might vote for them the first time. But if they're not viable, if they don't have a threshold of 15%, will we really get a true sense of who you want? Think about that, everybody. Now is the time for you to vote for who you believe is your best standard bearer. When we get to the convention this summer, well, then the person who's going to hold up the mantle. Now that's when you make that decision. But right now, vote for who you want. I mean, get what you want because this is how we're hammering out the platform right now. Okay? Sanders, according to all of the stats, he has an edge among Latino voters. Will it hold? And with this pushback from the Humanary Union, how will that play itself out?
Mm.
People still are saying that they really like Bernie Sanders. And Elizabeth Warren raised $5 million immediately after the debate.
Yep.
Oh, huh. But now this is very interesting. Did you know there's a heavily edited video um, that was pushed out by Mike Bloomberg's team? And the video posted, according to The Guardian, it posted by the campaign on Instagram paints a flattering portrait of the former mayor's widely panned, as it was written in The Guardian, debate performance, showing his rivals, his Democratic rivals, responding with extended silence after he asked a series of questions. So it
Mm.
made him look like he was the winner. Now, it has not been pulled back, but they said, this is on Twitter. A spokesman from Twitter told The Guardian that the Bloomberg post would probably fall under a new policy that will place warning labels next to significantly altered content starting on the 5th of March. Oh, these guys,
Wow.
and then you get your stories pulled because it's progressive. Are you kidding me? And he can
Exactly.
buy all of this. U.S. intelligence is warning House members that Russia is working to get Trump reelected. Hmm. And Michael Bloomberg's debate was a disaster, but that's not enough to rule him out. That's a very interesting piece in The Guardian. I'm going to post to that. $45 million in 90 days. That is how Michael Bloomberg has bought your Facebook feed. If you see him everywhere, $45 million.
Mm-hmm.
$45 million. But according to The Hill, Democrats are having second thoughts about Mike Bloomberg after he fell flat in his stage debut. That's right. Before the performance, many in the party were hopeful. The party establishment, they were hopeful that the New York City mayor, the former mayor of New York City, would emerge as a strong competitor to Bernie Sanders, who continues to gain momentum.
Mm.
Anybody but Bernie. Unbelievable. These folks need to cut that out. Now, former skeptics, according to The Hill, are saying that there could be a brokered convention and that it would be a nightmare. What do you all think? Call me at 773-763 9278 773 WCPT. Roger Stone got 40 months and a scolding from Judge Amy Berman Jackson. She said, unsurprisingly, I have a lot to say, and then she ripped into him. Oh, wow. So, what do you think about it? Did you hear how they handled this coronavirus? They put people on the plane who were infected. Now, the State Department said, put them on the plane, we've cleared them. Our Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said, don't put them on the plane. We don't know how this is spread. Now more people have gotten off the plane with, guess what, coronavirus.
Mm.
Drug agents are saying that NFL player Greg Robinson had 157 pounds of marijuana when arrested in a rented vehicle in which he and two other people were riding. Now, is it legal or is it illegal? Now, in Colorado, he'd be fine. So, is he going to go to jail? I just want to know, play the game by one set of rules. Now, either you can sell it, either you've decriminalized it, or you go to jail for this. Why is this a story? Sorry. Oh, because within another state. It's like states' rights for voting. This is ridiculous. Our Bulls didn't fare too well over the Hornets. They did not. They lost 103-93, the Hornets. And the Dow was down 128 points yesterday. The S&P down 12 points. The NASDAQ down 66 points. We're expecting a high of 36 degrees, but everybody wrap up because it is nice and cold outside right now. All right. We've got Nancy Altman, President Nancy Altman, one of my favorite people in the world. Michael, I'm going to get to you before we get to the break. We're talking about Social Security. Social Security. This is the floor that was created beneath which no American should fall. Prior to the Great Depression, you fell through the floor. Old people worked forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. But now at least you have a little something, some money coming in that can get you some food, that might get you some medicine, that might pay your rent. Well, Michael Bloomberg has some different ideas about Social Security. There's some politicians who believe in austerity. Now, if you want a Democrat who believes in austerity, who believes that your Social Security should be expanded, I don't think he's your guy. Nancy Altman, President of Social Security Works. President Altman, how are you today?
Well, I'm doing just great. And I think you said it exactly right. Here you've got someone worth $50 billion, Mayor Bloomberg, and somehow he thinks the rest of us are getting too much from Social Security, which average benefits about $15,000 a year.
That is unbelievable. I mean, I read your article and I was actually stunned because you linked me to a lot of other stories that I had forgotten about, where he compared Social Security to a Ponzi scheme.
That is an outrage for anyone to say. As you know, yes, he was talking about Bernie Madoff, who's sitting in jail for having ripped off, again, billions of dollars from investors. A Ponzi scheme, as you well know, is a criminal enterprise. It's when you're defrauding people out of their money. The idea that Social Security, that's been with us for 85 years, supported by Democratic presidents and Republican presidents, Dwight Eisenhower and others, to compare to what's he saying? That they are criminal? It is an outrage, and it's really part of a billionaire-driven campaign to undermine confidence in Social Security, because Social Security works extremely well. It really has built the middle class. But a lot of people today are saying the wealthy should pay their fair share, which they're not now doing. And what do the wealthy say? No, let's get rid of the program.
Everybody, we're talking with Nancy Altman, the president of Social Security Works. It's our nation's premier advocacy organization for Social Security. If you want your Social Security protected, I don't think Mike Bloomberg is your guy. Call me at 773-763-WCPT, 773-763-9278. We posted your article, and I'm going to retweet it. Bloomberg still wants to cut Social Security. It is a fabulous article, and it's something that you need to read, particularly as people are already voting. People are already voting. We are just about 11 days from Super Tuesday. We are 1 day from the Nevada caucuses. We are 1 week from South Carolina. So now, for whom will you vote and why? I think we need to understand who he is and what his plan is first. Nancy Altman, President Altman, what is his plan for Social Security?
Well, here, and just to give some context to this, he is, of course, he was a Republican until quite recently, and he is completely out of step with the Democratic Party. Actually, it was for too long the elites in Washington, including the Democratic establishment, bought into the lie that Social Security is unaffordable and has to be cut. There were a few, Senator Bernie Sanders and Senator Elizabeth Warren, who said, no, in fact, Social Security is a solution, we have to expand it. Thanks to Senator Sanders running in 2016, Secretary Clinton changed her position and came out for supporting expanding Social Security, and the Democratic Party and the platform came out for expanding Social Security. And today, of course, Sanders and Warren have advocated to have plans to expand Social Security, but even the other top-tier candidates, Biden and Buttigieg, have plans to have targeted expansions with no cuts. Mayor Bloomberg just came out with his Social Security plan, and it's very coyly worded. It sounds like he's also in favor of expanding Social Security, but he says he wants to protect it from the media, and that he's considering options, all of which is code for cutting middle-class benefits.
But he said that, and yet he's been in agreement with President Bush and others who have been talking about cutting Social Security. I mean, President Trump even said when he was running that he wouldn't touch Social Security, but then when you were just here a couple of weeks ago at Davos, he said, no, once I'm reelected, that's on the table. Which is it? What is he saying? I mean, it seems like it's a craftily worded plan. At least that was what I got from your article, that he's almost too smart by half, if not more.
Who doesn't follow the debate closely simply reads the plan he's posted on his website. You might be confused, or you might even think, oh, well, he's like the other candidates. But for those of us who have followed this debate extremely closely, there are a lot of weasel words that get used. People who are for expanding Social Security with no cuts, or even for no cuts, can say that very clearly. I just said it. It's not a hard thing to say. But he does not say either. He does not say he's for no cuts. What he said is he's for considering options. He's for, now what does that mean? If you're considering options that are unpopular, you don't say what they are. So reading between the lines, it's obvious. He still supports, he's a deficit hawk. He was in favor of, for those who remember it, the Bowles-Simpson Commission, which was an austerity commission. He was for the grand bargain. He was part of an extremely wealthy group called Fix the Debt that were all about cutting Social Security and cutting Medicare, cutting the American people's earned benefits. And he should be held accountable for that.
According to this article from the New York Post, Mayor Bloomberg, one of the richest men in the country, compared Social Security to a Ponzi scheme in an interview with Time magazine, no less, Nancy Altman. When asked how Ponzi fiend, as they put it, Madoff got away with his epic $65 billion scam for so long. His Honor, as they put it, this is the New York Post. It's the hometown paper, everybody. he said, quote, nobody cared. Everybody just thought, where did Madoff get the idea? A cynic would say, Social Security. Though I would never say that. But it's exactly the same thing, isn't it?
It was such an outrage. And in fact, who else called it a Ponzi scheme? Donald Trump. But he called it that before he started running, became a politician. Now he says he doesn't want to cut Social Security, but of course he proposes cutting it in his budget. And the same thing is going on here. That shows what people really think when they're not running for president. Listen to what they say, and you're exactly right. A Ponzi scheme is something that's completely hidden from view. You don't know what is going on. That's a criminal enterprise. Social Security is completely transparent, has been from its beginning. Every year it has puts out a report to Congress that shows Social Security's income and its outgo, not just for 5 years or 10 years or 20 years, but for 3/4 of a century and beyond. Every single year it projects out that far. And it's all online for anyone to see. It is completely transparent. It is and just to say one more thing, and not to get too technical about this, but pension plans, which Social Security is one, can be either current funded or advance funded. There is nothing, there's strengths and weaknesses to both forms. Someone as sophisticated as Mike Bloomberg should understand that something that is current funded, like a pension plan that's current funded, is not a Ponzi scheme. So again, it is and shows his true colors about this very vital program, and this program that works so well.
You know, everybody, let's talk about this. Call us at 773-763-9278. 773 WCPT. What about Social Security? You know, many people are saying blue no matter who. We just need to get Trump out of office. But wait a minute, who are you trading Trump for? You're saying that many are saying more and more, particularly prominent African Americans. Okay, he's doing the same thing. He did the same thing with stop and frisk. He's doing it with Social Security. I mean, do we need more Social Security or less? Let's talk about it on the Santita Jackson Show. Back in just a minute. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show. We're talking with President Nancy Altman of Social Security Works. She does such magnificent work indeed. This organization is the nation's premier advocacy organization for Social Security. Everybody's trying to privatize it, reduce it. Not everybody, but a lot of the people on the right in the Democratic and Republican parties are trying to do that. And you need to examine, while we're in this primary process, you need to ask of each candidate where they stand on Social Security. You need to ask those questions before you vote. You need to find out, go on their websites, go speak to their surrogates, find out specifically what their platforms are for Social Security, because Mike Bloomberg actually wants to cut it. And he's advocated cutting it for a long time, and he has called it basically a criminal enterprise. A criminal enterprise. Nancy Altman, President Altman, a criminal enterprise. Wow. Before I go to the callers, upon what basis would he say something like that?
A lot of opponents of Social Security, Donald Trump said it too, others have said it. In fact, something else that he said just in 2015, so not that long ago, the AARP and other organizations work with us to try to prevent cuts to Social Security. He compared that organization to the NRA for trying to oppose cuts to Social Security. It really shows a mindset who can compare those of us fighting to protect the American people's economic security to the NRA, and who would call a program a federal program that works so well that we all contribute to, that we all pay for, a Ponzi scheme. It's an outrage.
You know, everybody, and according to polling from March of 2019, 74% of Americans, 74% say Social Security benefits should not be reduced in any way. Before I go to the callers, President Altman, what would happen to the average American, if their Social Security benefits are reduced?
They would be pushed into poverty, most of them. And those that were fortunate and had children who could support them might move in with their children. It would go back, the Social Security transformed the nation. Before it was enacted, people worked as long as they could, but you can't work forever. And they would move in with children, but if they couldn't, they literally went to the poorhouse. Every state but New Mexico had poorhouses, and they were mainly, the residents were mainly older people. Same thing true if you lost a parent, that today you collect the Social Security your parent earned for you. Back then, families were often broken apart. There were children in orphanages who still had living parents, but their one parent died and the other parent couldn't continue to support them. So we don't want to go backwards. We're the wealthiest nation in the world, and this is the wealthiest moment in our history. We are so much wealthier than we were in 1935 or 1950 or 1970. We should be expanding Social Security, which is what Franklin Roosevelt wanted. He called it a cornerstone on which to build. And we should reject politicians who are totally out of step with the American people, including across the ideological spectrum. Republicans, independents, Democrats agree that we should not cut Social Security, and indeed, we should be expanding it.
Are there any other Democrats who want to reduce Social Security? I mean, particularly those in the top tier.
Fortunately not. I mean, at one point, Vice President Biden was open to it, but he has now disavowed it. Senator Klobuchar has been less clear about it, but she's seems to be along with the other Democrats in favor of expanding and not cutting it. Pete Buttigieg has been very clear on his record. And of course, Senator Sanders and Senator Warren, at a time when most Democrats were saying, we got to cut the program and looking for a grand bargain with Republicans, were holding the line firm. So they are the most rock solid on this issue. If we have a President Sanders or a President Warren, I am confident they will push through legislation to expand and not cut Social Security.
It just seems to me that we can only depend upon the progressives, actually, to preserve Social Security. It seems like the moderates are a little wobbly on it.
Well, they've bought into, there's been a billion, literally, it's funny we're talking about Bloomberg, because it's a literally billionaire-funded campaign, some other billionaires, to undermine our confidence in Social Security with the goal of cutting it. And they've, listened a little too much to that, or they want to compromise with the Republicans. So, on a question, but they're not representing the American people. There are issues that are close and where people are very polarized, and to make any progress, you might have to compromise. But on Social Security, it's not the case. Everyone agrees. There was a poll that was done that showed that in the 2016 run, that Donald Trump's supporters, Ted Cruz's supporters, John Kasich's supporters agreed with Bernie Sanders on his position on Social Security, that we should be expanding it, not cutting it. So the progressives are progressives on a lot of issues, but on this one, I see them as right down the middle because it's what the American people think.
Everybody, we're talking with Nancy Altman, president of Social Security Works. It's our nation's premier Social Security advocacy organization as we move into this primary season, and we are here. You need to find out how all of these candidates, and I would say Democrats and Republicans, how they feel about Social Security. If we are all blessed to live long enough, we will be able to receive Social Security. And it's only when you are a recipient of Social Security, it seems to me, Nancy Altman, that is when you really understand how necessary it is. What is the average payout for an American on Social Security?
It's just about $1,200 a month. So it lifts people out of poverty, but they're not living lavish lives. I mean, it's enough to pay necessities.
I mean that's like,
it's a foundation for us, and it's the least we could expect in a country as wealthy as we are.
I mean, that's $14,000 a year. I mean, that because 23 plus is poverty, so that's not even giving you a poverty wage. It's just kind of gets you over a hump, right? So you would need that and your pension.
Exactly, and fewer and fewer people have pensions, and that's an average. So some people are better than that, but others are getting lower benefits than that. So that's an average benefit. So there's no question we should be expanding this program after a lifetime of work and contributing to this nation. None of us should retire into poverty.
Can you? I know you've got to go in a hot second, but can you take at least a couple of callers, one or two calls? Absolutely. Let me go to you, Michael. Oh, Michael O'Connor. You tell me, what are you thinking?
Hi, good morning, and good morning to your guests. I want to thank your guests because I'm on my way to vote now. Well, today, early voting started yesterday in as far as Illinois, and I'm on my way to vote early. And I can assure you, Bernie Sanders will now have my vote. I am so glad that this information is being given out on WCPT radio, where facts matter, because a lot of seniors and a lot of people who are disabled need to know that Michael Bloomberg has not only bought the election, I think they kind of already know that. He's already bought the candidacy in the Democratic Party with the cooperation of the DNC. But more importantly, our Social Security is at risk. So I'm on my way to vote directly. I'm going to have to vote for Bernie Sanders because there's no way under the sun I would vote for any Democrat, Republican, Independent, or write-in candidate, or as far as anybody else's candidate that would at this time try to take Social Security away. Baby boomers are retiring right now. A lot of them are disabled, and a lot of them don't have pensions. They depend on Social Security. They depend on SSDI, which is Social Security Disability Insurance, and any candidate who's trying to be an elected official who goes along with another candidate that would cut Social Security, they are morally bankrupt as far as I'm concerned, and they should be ashamed of themselves. That's my comment today, Santita. vote a Lady B for me.
Go vote, go vote, go vote, go vote. And let me ask you this. Did you know about his position on Social Security before now?
I was one of those individuals who was confused in terms of when I looked at his platform because the first part of the sentence talks about the expansion of Social Security, but I did know that something was wrong because of the fact that he said options. That's the same thing you repeated this morning in terms of the Donald Trump. But I'm going to get that New York Post article, and I'm going to make sure that the seniors, because I live in a senior building, I'm going to pass that out so they can see for themselves that regardless of what they see on television by Michael Bloomberg, it's a lie. This guy is getting ready to cut, possibly, if he gets in office, their benefits. I think that is, I am, oh boy, I'm on my way to vote.
Well, let me tell you. All you have to do is go to WCPT820.com. We've posted this piece there on Santita Jackson and Friends. We've posted it there. And in addition, but you need to read Bloomberg Still Wants to Cut Social Security, written by President Altman, because that is how I got to the article myself. And I have to tell you, and thank you so much, Michael, bless your heart. I didn't, it's because I lived in New York. I I know a Michael Bloomberg as mayor. So what I've been hearing people when I'm watching this, I mean, this unbelievably huge ad buy. And when I'm watching the commercials, many people don't know what he stands for. They don't. And I mean, I'm not picking on him. I want to pick at everybody. And I mean, in a good way, because I think we need to tease out where people are. I mean, I think we need to know what your domestic policies are, what your foreign policies. I think we need to know all of these things. But something, don't be fooled by these slick ad buys. Nancy Altman, I think that's one of the lessons that we have here. Call me at 773-763-WCPT. 773-763-WCPT. Your final thought, because I want you to come back to me, Nancy Altman.
Oh, I'm happy to come. This is really a public service, and I really appreciate the comments Michael made, because it is very confusing when they talk about options, these vague words. Don't be fooled. When politicians are proposing something you're going to want, they will be very clear about it. Expand Social Security. Do not cut Social Security. That's the key. No cuts. But the slick ones will say, yeah, we want to expand it for some people. Read that as, but if they don't say they're not going to cut it for anyone, make it that, okay, we'll transfer it. We'll take it from some and give it to others. That's not the way to do it.
Wow. Thank you
again for having this. This is such an important topic, and I'm delighted to be your guest.
Well, you are part of the family now. You're going to have to come back to the show and talk about it some more, because because I didn't even get to what Social Security means to people who are disabled, to those who are without parents. I mean, this Social Security system, if you could, just very quickly, Social Security touches not just the elders.
Exactly. It is. And in fact, I would love another time to talk about the disability insurance program, part of the program, because it is really under attack. The Social Security is wage insurance. As long as we work for wages, or need our wages to pay our food and our rent and so forth, we need insurance against those loss of wages, because you can die leaving young children, and who've been dependent on your wages. You can become so seriously disabled that you can no longer support yourself. And if you're fortunate to grow to old age, you retire and your wages are gone then. So you need insurance against the loss of those wages. You need those wages replaced. And that's what Social Security does. We contribute during our working lives, we earn the benefits, and then when we retire or become disabled or die, we and our families draw those benefits out. It is the best of American values. We all contribute together, and we all have responsibility. And it's a program that works, but that's why the billionaires and the ideologues hate it, because it works.
Nancy Altman, Social Security Works, everybody. It's our nation's premier Social Security advocacy organization. Can't wait to have you back. And we'll have you back for an extended conversation about all that Social Security does, because it doesn't just touch our elders, it touches everybody. It is truly Social Security. Thank you so much, Nancy Altman.
Thank you so much for having me.
Always a joy. Part of the family here. Call me at 773 763 9278. 773 WCPT. Let's talk about Social Security. It impacts our elders, but it impacts people who are disabled, who are differently abled. If you get sick, if you can no longer work, this is Social Security. And you actually have candidates who are running for president, Democrats no less, who have toyed with the idea of cutting the program. Someone who actually supports cutting the program. And you need to ask these questions of these candidates. You need to know where they stand on some basic things for you as we go into voting. Think about that, everybody. Can you, because look, pensions, they're going. More and more companies aren't going to give you a pension. You used to retire after 25, 50 years, gold watch. No, that's over. So Social Security for so many of us is it. You can get your 401ks, which is dependent upon really the caprices of the market. Whatever the market does, well, that's where your money is on that day. Do you really want to depend upon that? And most Americans are not in the stock market. Think about that. You need to know where everybody stands on Social Security. And as we were just talking to Nancy Altman, it seems to me that the only persons who want to maintain Social Security, the only candidates who want to expand Social Security even, are the progressives. The moderates have tinkered with the idea, with the exception of Pete Buttigieg. Well, I don't quite know where I want to be. What about you? What about you in Social Security? Call me at 773-763-WCPT, 773-763-9278. Roosevelt, what's on your mind?
Good morning, Santita. How you doing this morning?
Always a joy to hear your voice.
The subject of Social Security and the candidates. Of course, I'm going to go for a candidate that does not cut Social Security. I believe Elizabeth Warren has mentioned it in the past, but it didn't come up in the debates. Also, this new information that you bring about as far as Bloomberg cutting it, that didn't come, and that's my question. How come all the candidates, the progressive candidates, middle of the road candidates on the progressive side, didn't bring this up in the debate? That's my first question. Actually, I have a series of questions. And I believe Michael said that Bloomberg is buying the election. That's exactly how he got to be number 2 or number 3. I don't know where he's at right now. We are no longer living in a fair election reality. We're living in a Trump-running election because perception and the visual makes it real. Look who we have. What are we going to do? Here's my question to you, Santita, and other callers. What are we going to do if Bloomberg is the candidate for the Democrats? I believe that with his money, he's going to continue searching because that's what we have right now. We have it in the state of Illinois. We had Rauner that bought African-American pastors and promised them positions in government, and that's how Rauner got in Illinois with his money. How did he win against Quinn? Because he had more money. How did Pritzker get in there? He had more money than Rauner. So we have it here in Illinois. We no longer have fair elections or elections that are, so to speak, where candidates don't take any money, which, by the way, Bloomberg is not taking any money. He's basically using his own money. That's what Trump ran on saying that he was...
Well, he's not taking money, he's paying money. So there's a difference. He doesn't have to take it, he can pay it. And I think, I have to push back just a little bit with you, Roosevelt, because this did not start with President Trump. We've had this kind of graft in the system for a very long time. We're paying more attention because so many people find him to be such a controversial figure. Let me just put it that way. But the thing is, this is the way politics has been working for a long time. Now the question is whether it's Trump or Bloomberg or Warren or Bernie or Obama or Bush or Clinton or whoever. Is this acceptable to you? And more importantly, in 2020, do you want to save Social Security? In 2020, are you surprised? Are you surprised that there is a candidate who is in the top tier? He doesn't mention that in any of his commercials. He does not promise you that he is not going to touch Social Security. He does not promise you that he is not going to touch our social safety net. He doesn't promise you that. He lets you know that I've worked with people across the aisle, gun control. He doesn't talk to you about stop and frisk. I want to see a long commercial about that. I mean, that's what I know. We're not arguing here. I'm just saying, while we're looking at these media buys, while he's all up in your Twitter feed, while he's all up in your Facebook feed, don't you want to know that?
Right, I agree with you 100%. But what about everything I said? We no longer live in an election where the reality is, I mean, what real is real, meaning perception is reality.
It has been false for a long, I'm just trying to tell you, it has been like this for a very long time, which is why Bernie, let me say this to you, Roosevelt, which is why Bernie's so upset, because Bernie came out of the Jackson campaign. The way he's being treated now is the way Reverend was treated 30 plus years ago. This is not new. I'm just trying to tell you it's not new.
Right, but where I differ with you is this. What about the examples I gave you? Rauner bought...
It's the same, I'm just saying, it's the same thing. And he didn't just buy African-American pastors. He bought, no, hold on. It wasn't just African-American pastors. A lot of people get bought in politics. That's what it is. That's what it is. Now the question is, are we going to have a publicly funded system that will kind of cut some of this out? I think, and we should have transparency in government, because government is about resources, and people trade favors. That's what they do.
I think you're missing the point. Is we have to deal with what is real, what is present, what is in front of us. What is in front of us? The guy with the most money, most possibly, has the highest percentage to win an election. That's what I'm thinking. That's exactly. And what about my questions to you? What are we going to do if Bloomberg is the Democratic candidate? We're going to let Trump get in and vote for a write-in?
I'm saying what you need to do is study Bloomberg so you can know who he really is. He and President Trump are far more alike than you. No. You asked me the question. I'm answering you. They are much more akin to one another than they are dissimilar. They're very, very, just you asked me a question, I'm trying to answer your question. No. I'm not giving you the answer you want. I'm giving you the answer because I've studied this man, because I understand him as the mayor of New York.
Why was he there 12 years in a state? In a city that's so.
There were a lot of objections. There were a lot of objections to him. A lot of people. Look, we had Bush, who actually lost, and we had him twice. You get a lot of people get no, Roosevelt. I'm not going to give you the answers you want. I'm going to give you the answers that I have. No. You asked me a question. You say you want me to answer you. I'm answering you. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I just didn't give you the answer that you wanted. You want me to say blue. No, you want me to say blue no matter who. That's not where I am. I'm saying what you need to quiet down. Quiet down. Now, we're not going to shout over each other. Now, what I'm saying to you is I'm not going to tell you blue no matter who. I'm saying what we need to do is look at all of these people and their policies, and then you can decide whether you want them or not. How did he get reelected in New York? Because you're hopping all over the place. He got reelected in New York the way he could get elected in the United States. He had a great media campaign in the media center of the United States of America. But you had a Reverend Al Sharpton who would rail against him week in and week out on stop and frisk. And a lot of people voted for him who said that they would not vote for him. Because I can tell you that's what's happening in America right now with President Trump. A lot of people support him, but they say that they don't support him. That's how that happens. A lot of people voted for Rauner, even though other people had objections to him. It happens all the time in politics, Roosevelt. You got the last minute.
The last minute is this. I'm like that lady Lisa that you spoke to about two days ago. If this Bloomberg, I am sorry, I cannot take 4 more years of Trump. Why? Where am I coming from? I have to look for the future of my children. This is the way I vote. Me, I'm 63. I have children. The decisions that this guy's making are going to affect my grandkids.
Hmm.
Trump's decisions. We elected a guy that ran our perception. The perception that he had the money, that he was going to use his own money. Never did that. He never did that. He's doing it again. We ran on the perception of a person that was going to be tough, that's going to drain the swamp. Never did that. The swamp is full of them. So this is our reality now. We're stuck with this guy for another year, possibly for another 4 years. Why? All because of perception.
Well, the thing is, the perception is he and President Michael Bloomberg and President Trump are in lockstep on a lot of issues, and I think that you need to know that. You need to know that. That's all that I'm saying, and I'm going to stay right there on that. I personally, if I had to vote, I'm not voting yet, because not early, because I haven't chosen a candidate yet. But I think that we need to scientifically look at who's running and where they stand. More of the Santita Jackson Show on WCPT 820 in just a minute.
Wake up, Chicago. This is the Santita Jackson Show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show on WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station. Politics, 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 politics. We were talking with Nancy Altman of Social Security Works, the nation's premier Social Security advocacy organization, about Social Security and the preservation of it in the last hour. Still taking your calls about Social Security and about your candidates. Early voting has started all over the country. Nevada is tomorrow. We're going to bring up Mike Crute in just a hot second from two of the nation's premier talk radio stations up in Wisconsin, which is where we're heading this summer, right?
Yes.
We're going to be there this summer for the Democratic Convention. Can't wait to see him there and to be with our brothers and sisters up in Milwaukee and Madison, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, the Midwest is so much, it's very much like the state of Illinois, because you have a mix of the rural and the urban, the conservative, the progressive, the liberal, the moderate. I mean, you got a lot going on there, everybody. We're heading into the Nevada caucuses. How are they supposed to work? What is going on there? People are torn between those who they believe can beat Trump and who they believe in. Wow, wow, wow. Let's talk about that today. And as we bring on Mike Crute, I want to bring on a couple of headlines. The U.S. intelligence has warned House members that Russia is working to get Trump reelected. What do you think about that? And even though Michael Bloomberg's debate was a bit of a, well, he had a really tough time. And it spurred a lot of hand-wringing with the Democratic establishment. He's still spending a lot of money on the media buys, $45 million in 90 days, everybody. And he is now in your Facebook feed, but he's getting a lot of criticism for one of his commercials that has been altered, seriously altered. And guess what it does? It was altered from the debate a couple of nights ago, and it made him appear to be a winner. And so now Twitter, Facebook, they're going to have to put some little bug to tell you that this video was altered. Unbelievable. Yeah, that's why these media buys ought to concern you, everybody. Roger Stone sentenced to 40 months and a scolding from Amy Berman Jackson, the judge, in that case. Wow, will he be pardoned? Will he serve a day? We'll see. The coronavirus has infected Americans who've been flown from overseas. There was a back and forth between the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, and our State Department. Should these Americans be flown back from overseas? Well, it turns out that the State Department won. They said that they've already been processed and they got people on the plane, and it turns out people actually had the coronavirus and other people were infected, even though they were isolated, wearing masks and everything. Wow. Drug agents say that NFL player Greg Robinson had 157 pounds of marijuana when arrested. Now, this is very interesting. As we're decriminalizing marijuana, should he go to jail? What is that? I mean, is it legal or is it not? Okay? Wrong state, wrong. Tell me. I just want to know. Play the game by one set of rules. The Bulls fell to the Hornets last night. The Hornets 103 and the Bulls 93. The Dow was down 128 points yesterday. The S&P down 12 points. The NASDAQ was down 66 points, and we're expecting a high of 36 degrees. But when I got in here about 5:30, a little late today, it felt like it was 15 degrees, but they said it felt like 0, and it did. Cold. So everybody, please dress warmly. Mike Crute, one of my new favorite people in the world. He is the devil's advocate. I love it. From WRRD 101.7 in Milwaukee and WTTN 92.7 in Madison. States of these two cities of great consequence. We're going to be, of course, in Milwaukee for the Democratic Convention. But so much is going on, in Wisconsin, because you went from a very conservative governor to a very progressive governor. I mean, your new governor had just had enough. A former teacher, he just had enough and just decided to run, and well, now he's running things, and he got a young African American to be his lieutenant governor. Things are rocking and rolling in the state of Wisconsin. Mike Crute, welcome to the show.
Good morning, Santita.
And I love it. He gives me my 2 T's. I love it. Thank you very much. Tell me, you were in Mr. Devil's Advocate. Tell me a little bit about your show before you tell us about what happened in Nevada.
Sure. Devil's Advocates, and we've had the good fortune of playing on occasion, especially when we go on the road to the political party. We play out on WCPT 820 as we did last night and the night prior. But the devil's advocates is me and my college roommate, Dominic Salvia. And we've had sort of a 25-year friendship, and we are co-conspirators in this endeavor. And our favorite thing to do, Santita, is to go on the road, to go to where the political events are, and to go make friends, go see what's happening on the ground. Our most recent trip, I was in Las Vegas last night, and here I am in Wisconsin, freezing my you-know-what off this morning, Santita. But our show, we'd like to think is a healthy mix of a little bit of fun and a lot of serious politics. And when you do it with your best friend, hardly feels like working.
Bless your heart. So, what took you to Nevada, and what did you see? Is it Nevada or is it Nevada? I grew up calling it Nevada, but what did you see?
I saw lots and lots of people coming together for, first and foremost, we were there, obviously, the Democratic presidential debate. And I got to tell you, I was looking most forward to this. It's been a while since I was excited as I was upon the entry of the billionaire Michael Bloomberg, on the stage. This was something I find quite exciting. And it was not a disappointing event. Obviously, Bloomberg had, I think, perhaps one of the worst debates of all time. Elizabeth Warren had one of the best debates of all time. And mixed in between were two trips to Vegas by Donald Trump. Donald Trump was in Vegas on Tuesday. Obviously, the presidential debate went off on Wednesday. And then Donald Trump arrived again in Las Vegas last night, right as we were trying to depart on a red eye. So we got to sit on the tarmac just a little bit longer to accommodate, Cheeto Jesus.
Cheeto Jesus. What do you think is going on? What do you think is going to happen in Nevada tomorrow? It seems that there's a lot of angst about the vote and how to calculate the vote. I'm just wondering if people have a lot of confidence in the system, particularly in the caucus system.
Santita, that's a good question. A lot of people that we spoke to, and primarily service employees, people working in casinos or, car drivers, different sort of service people that we interacted with over the course of the week, a lot of them had questions for us about the caucus process, and my advice was I hope it goes better than Iowa. We did have Tom Perez, DNC chairman, join us. Tom's been good to us. He's granted us a number of exclusives at these debates, and he did again on Wednesday night. And, of course, one of my first questions is, Tom, is the vote going to go okay here in Nevada? And Tom Perez said, yes, there will be no app. It's not an app, Santita. It's a calculator on an iPad, which sounds a lot like an app to me. But they're not using the same shadow app developed for the Iowa Democratic Party that had so many failures, obviously, the night of the Iowa caucus. So Perez assures us it's not the same app. And the other thing I do find somewhat reassuring regarding the caucus process, for the very first time, you can early vote towards the caucus in the state of Nevada. So what effectively has happened is people have had the opportunity to go and early vote. They cast a ballot for their preferred candidate and then sort of do a ranked choice voting. They have to pick three presidential candidates in descending order, although they can say, they could say Joe Biden and then uncommitted for second and third choice. But effectively, early voting for the very first time in Nevada has really changed what the outcome may look like. They've already had 70,000 votes relative to 2016 when only 84,000 people caucused, period. Now, in prior elective cycles, I believe in 2008, when Obama obviously won his first election, they had approximately 125,000 people caucus in the state of Nevada. I think there's some probability that that number will be exceeded this week. I mean, I think it's quite likely that with the people caucusing plus the early voting numbers, I mean, they should or predictably should exceed the vote outcomes of 2008. And ultimately, I think there are a lot of people with questions. But as Joe Biden said the other day as he marched the picket line with some culinary workers, Nevada is Las Vegas specifically is a big union town. And so many of these people are part of the unions as the culinary union or they're associated with unions. And I think in some way, shape, or form, the unions help run the caucuses. So many of these people are caucusing at a casino back room at the very same place where they work. And I think oftentimes it's the union officials that help encourage people and probably give them some direction, I would suspect, as to whom to vote for or caucus for. Doesn't mean they have to, but understand it's not a secret ballot. They've got to go out and publicly say, we're voting for, and stand there in front of their colleagues at work, potentially their union colleagues. So it takes a little more courage to go out there and publicly caucus for someone. And I think quite frankly, if the union machine wants to get behind somebody, they can do so. And as it was expressed to me by a cabbie the other night in Las Vegas, when Clinton came to town, they said it was the mafia. And I mean, I'm like, the mafia helped Clinton win. They said no, her union machine, the turnout machine, felt like the mafia.
Do you think that, well, how do you think that is using, so you're saying that because we, in the caucus system, are not able to vote privately, that people can be intimidated into voting for X candidate or Y candidate?
Whoever the union told them to vote for. I think historically there's been a lot of power in that. And I think the fact that the culinary union specifically did not endorse in this race, I think that it probably is encouraging in that there is no big union machine, at least not publicly working for any of the candidates. But they've always talked about Chicago having that machine once upon a time under Daley. I mean, certainly the unions know how to turn out theirs in Nevada. They just have not chosen to put their chips down on any particular candidate.
Where do we go from here? I mean, give me some closing thoughts. What should we be looking for in Nevada on tomorrow? I mean, do you think we'll get a real sense of where the people of Nevada, will we get a real sense of who their favorite candidate is? I mean, and who could this impact negatively? Would this impact the progressives negatively, the moderates? Because it seems like the moderates are supported by the establishment, and it might take more courage for you to vote for a Bernie Sanders or an Elizabeth Warren.
Well, Santita, if you had the same interpretation of the presidential debate that I had, I think the two progressive candidates, Elizabeth Warren especially, excelled at the debate. Bernie Sanders entered the debate as the front runner, and I have no doubt he will leave Nevada, the caucus, as the victor come Saturday night, assuming they get the vote count right and they release them publicly. But I think it's clear that it was a race for second in Nevada. A lot of the campaigns were already acknowledging quietly off the record that, the Bernie campaign, they've been on the ground longest, they have the best ground game, and he's done this before. And sometimes it takes a win, you've got to go lose one, you've got to go run once for an office, fail to succeed that office, but learn the lessons, build the machinery. And I think Bernie Sanders has demonstrated he's got the best machine so far. Having said that, Elizabeth Warren, by far, I think, has had one of the greatest debate performances of all time. And my impression, Santita, is that Warren should get a bump, a la Amy Klobuchar in New Hampshire. The problem is so many people have already early voted if they didn't happen to vote for Warren early, she's not going to get the same sort of momentum because so many people already expended their vote in early vote. But if I had to pick, I would say the rising candidate in the pool is probably Elizabeth Warren. I would say Joe Biden. You know, he did well in the debate the other night. He was out there with the union workers, although he did not garner the debate on Wednesday prior to the debate. You know, he did a good job of getting out there and marching with the unions publicly. And I would say ultimately, if we had to pick a centrist, I think you might see the reclamation of Joe Biden's candidacy. I don't think he's out yet, and I think a strong showing for Joe in Nevada hopefully helps give him some traction in South Carolina. As you well know, Santita, that's what comes next. South Carolina, another debate on Tuesday next, and then by next Sunday, the 29th, we'll see the first predominantly African-American voting bloc get to express their preference for a candidate. Early headlines I see is that Bernie Sanders may be gaining some momentum with African-American voters, and presumably that means South Carolina next. But I think it's probably going to be Bernie with a big win. And I don't mean a 2% win. I'm looking for a 10% or more win. I think you're going to see Bernie Sanders' first definitive victory of the cycle so far. And I think, quite frankly, that $400 million that Michael Bloomberg has expended to date, I've never seen a man get up on stage and publicly burn $400 million, but effectively that's what Michael Bloomberg did with his candidacy. So, you know, any thoughts that all the centrists were going to go rally behind Bloomberg, boy, that was a bad plan. So I think it's the center in chaos. I think that Joe Biden might be the beneficiary of the loss of momentum from Bloomberg on the debate stage. And I think the two progressives, Elizabeth Warren, she'll get the late bump. She'll overperform relative to recent polling. And I think Bernie Sanders will be the clear winner of the caucus.
You heard it here, Mike Crute. He just got back from Nevada. Can't wait to have you back on the show, Mike Crute, the devil's advocate out of Milwaukee and Madison, Wisconsin. Can't wait to have you back.
Well, thank you so much, Sam. Thanks for having me on this morning.
God bless. All right, everybody. What do you think is going to happen in Nevada? And what about these SEIU workers? What about them? They have been... they've been protesting all over the country, more than 50,000 of them in Chicago alone, because these healthcare workers are not able to afford a hospital bed that they've got to clean or make up. Think about that. There's something about that's not right. But I'm taking your calls right now because everybody wants to talk about election 2020 because guess what? We're here. We're here. I'm so excited. Let me go to Mark from Bronzeville. Mark, what's on your mind?
How you doing, Santita?
What's on your mind, sweetie?
Well, I'm sort of thinking, okay, so I understand what was brought up today regarding Bloomberg's Social Security. I had interpreted what I've seen on his website as something different. Was projected as far as a threat to Social Security. But I think that that's a question that needs to be asked. But I also believe that, you know, I know you had mentioned that Bernie Sanders came out of the Jackson campaign, but I got to tell you something. He's not like Reverend at all.
Oh, I know that. I was just making that point. This is when I met him. He was one of two white elected officials in the United States who actually came out and endorsed Reverend. So I'm not making him Reverend at all. That's not fair to him. It's not fair to Reverend. So we can get off. You can just get off that point. But Mark, you need to call back. I think you just got dropped. And that was not me. So call us back, Mark. 773-763-9278. Let me run through a few of these callers. Ed from the north side. Ed, what's on your mind? That's a lot. I hear you. It's good. And so we'll see. Bless your heart. Let me go to, thank you, sweetie. Let me go to Margie. Margie, what's on your mind today?
Talking about Social Security,
Oh, go for it.
I think Elizabeth Warren is our next president, and that's just my female opinion. But I was calling about the truth of my Social Security. In 2016, my husband passed away of undiagnosed bladder cancer.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Thank you, Santita. I had been partially disabled at that time and went to Social Security. And the significance of my call happened since my husband's death in August of 2016. At that time, my widow's benefit from my husband was $2,396. And they also broke it down if I did it at this time, that time, and what have you. I did not collect Social Security at that time. I re-injured myself in September of 17, and I was going to think about that, collecting my husband's death benefit, which was $2,396. And I went to Social Security, and they said my benefit, the same benefit for my husband, would be $2,109 per month. Subsequently, I am just completely disabled now, so much worse than when he passed. And I actually filed in October of 2019. And I want you to know my benefit is $1,800. And if you didn't apply, you wouldn't know how they magically taken away $600 of my benefit. I don't understand it. Been listening to this station for years. I've heard Congress people say they can't touch it. I'm calling to let you know and the whole world know they are touching it, and I don't understand it. You call Social Security, you listen to this recording about how we're here from you from birth until you die. Well, yes, Santita, I did get the $255, the death benefit from my husband for Social Security. But here I am, and 3.5 years later, and I went from $2,396 to $1,800, and I haven't received the benefit yet.
Let me ask you this, because it's important to get that information out there. How has it impacted you? I've got less than a minute.
I'm kind of devastated that having listened to this station, hearing from congressmen that they can't emphatically state that they can't. I'm telling you, it's touched. I don't understand it, honey, but it's happening, and God bless you and keep you.
God bless you. Stay right there. You know what? Have you talked to your congressperson?
Well, because it is.
Who is your representative? Just one moment, because I'm gonna have to go off the air. Margie, I want you to hold on. I want to talk with you during the break, okay? Stay right there, because you need to speak with your representative, your state and your national representative about that. You need to get some definitive answers. That's a lot of money to lose. It's a lot of money to lose. That's life and death. And so we need to find out who your representative is. You need to know that. And you need to call them today. You need to call them today. And we'll help you do it. More of the Santita Jackson Show on WCPT 820. The nation's largest progressive talk radio station coming up. What's going on with SEIU, these healthcare workers who are making up beds in hospitals that they cannot stay in. Not making enough money to do that. More of the Santita Jackson Show in just a minute.
where facts matter.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show, taking your calls. We got a lot to talk about today. Boy, oh boy, election 2020 is on and cracking. Nevada tomorrow, the caucuses, what's going to happen, who's going to win. Keep it locked right here on WCPT 820 so that you can find out what is going on up to the minute. Up to the minute. We're going to be following it here on the nation's largest progressive talk radio station. And we are talking about a lot of issues for which you will be voting, whether you vote or not, in 2020. We spoke of Social Security, which Social Security has not been at the center of the conversation, but to be quite frank with you, all of these, there's so many issues that ought to be at the center of the conversation, but you need to know what to ask everybody. You need to know. And you need to understand, I think there's some basic questions that we need to ask of all candidates. That is to say, Social Security, where do you stand? It's not just our elders who are impacted by Social Security or who receive it. So let's think about that. And then, of course, following the caucuses. You know, Mike Crute made a very interesting point, Lady B. He said, you have these big unions. This is when these endorsements matter. And you have the leaders or their close cronies who are running the caucus site.
Mm-hmm.
And they are finding out who's voting for whom. And don't think you might not feel it on your job.
That's true.
Wow. One person, one vote, everybody. I think the caucus system, in and of itself, it just isn't fair. And if you want to have ranked choice voting, we can do that, but we don't need a caucus system to do that. So call me at 773-763-9278, because one of the issues that everyone's talking about is health care. And I was struck by, it seems like these SEIU workers are striking all over the country. All over the country. We've got tens of thousands of them here in Chicago alone. And you healthcare workers, and I'm sensitive to healthcare workers because, my grandmother worked in the VA hospital for years. And the people who come in and bring you your food.
Mm-hmm.
That was my grandmother.
Okay.
And so, bless her heart, when I'm in a hospital, if I'm in there or if I'm there, when I see these people, I see my grandmama. You don't know who somebody's mama is or daddy or brother or sister. You really don't know. And you don't know who their children are going to become. Think about that. And so, I'm very sensitive to healthcare workers, and it's very painful to believe and to know that many of them don't make wages that are great enough and don't have benefits that are robust enough for them to stay in the same bed that they make. So we're going to talk about that today because there have been strikes all over the country fighting for these workers to have health care and to make wages that they can live on. And so we're very, very honored to have a couple of people here today who are going to help us to tease out what's been going on. Diane Palmer, President Diane Palmer of SEIU Local 73, and Tashay Myrick, who is one of the workers who is with SEIU Local 73. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here. President Palmer, what is going on with these strikes all across the country and here in Chicago too?
Yeah, all over the country and here in Chicago, we're using our collective power to work for our families and our communities. And the days are gone that we're going to sit back and take the crumbs that are left on the table. Our members deserve more, so we're going to fight for more.
What specifically are you fighting for? When because I think it's. I read a Guardian article. Unfortunately, they're not headlined. They're not in the headlines enough here in Chicago and all around the country. When we're watching the workers, the people who we pass by in the hospital and who we pass by on the bus stop or on the expressway every day, that they're not making enough money and their health care benefits are not robust enough for them to be able to stay in the hospitals where they work. Please explain that.
Okay, so right now we're negotiating a contract at the University of Chicago. We want to negotiate a transformative contract for these workers that acknowledges the integrity of their work. The administration so far has refused to offer contracts that properly invest in staff that make the university run. So we're standing together as a union and fighting for appropriate staffing levels, a safe campus, a work-life balance, equitable pay, and dignity and respect. We don't want to leave anybody behind. Every job and every service that we provide matters. So again, we're going to use our collective power to win for our families and our communities.
Are you getting any pushback from those who run these hospitals and these institutions?
Well, at the University UIC, we're negotiating 4 contracts: the technical, service and maintenance, the professional, and the clerical. About 4,000 workers. And we've been at the table on one contract 10 or 11 sessions, and the employer is fighting back. They don't want to give these workers fair wages. They don't want to give them safe staffing levels or the equipment and supplies that they need, or even safety as they do their work. And so we are getting a lot of pushback, and it's pretty unfortunate. As I, over the years, have looked at UIC, I looked at it as a really prestigious university that offered an excellent education and a really good hospital, not realizing that they were doing it on the backs of these workers. In some instances at the university, those workers are the lowest paid workers in the city of Chicago, meaning that they make less than $15 an hour, which is what the city has made as a minimum wage.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Tashay Myrick, please explain to me, what is the experience of a worker, say at UIC, or low-wage workers? I mean, how do you get to work every day? I mean, what do you eat? I mean, these are some basic things when you're not making a lot of money. And what happens when you get sick? These are the things that I'm thinking about.
Most of the low-wage workers just need a minimum qualification of a high school diploma. Some of them will take into consideration the experience, but that just depends on the manager if they feel like it at the time of hiring to give you their wage. If they like you, they will. If they don't, they won't give it to you. You just go with what you have. Some of our workers are working 2 and 3 jobs just to make ends meet. In the food service department, they had to do Uber also on the side immediately after they get off the work, so they could provide for their families. Then some would actually pick up extra shifts and work a whole lot of overtime just to make ends meet.
So how does that, when they get sick, what happens?
Well, they do provide the health care, but they do come with the cost. You do have to pay a copay, and depending on what premium you have, it depends on what you pay. I know mine is $20 every doctor's visit, and depending on if you're sick a lot, that $20 can add up. And that's just with HMO. Imagine PPO. PPO, I don't know the plans. I had PPO at first. I had to switch it to HMO because I couldn't afford the PPO. I wanted to go to whatever doctor I wanted to go to. I didn't want to just stick with the UIC network, but I could not afford it. My deductible was probably about $150, and I just couldn't afford it. So sometimes I would just Google things and figure out what I had, so I can know by the time I get to the hospital what I had, before I would have to go see thousands of doctors and pay all these high premiums.
So, and that becomes the question, because we did a story, President Palmer, and about these workers who were working at the charitable hospitals down in Memphis. ProPublica did a really big expose, their MLK 50 project, and low-wage workers were being sued by the nonprofit hospitals, which had hundreds of millions of dollars in endowments, if not billions. They were being sued by these hospitals because the workers got sick and stayed in the hospitals. I mean, this is just unbelievable to me. It's unfathomable, President Palmer and Ms. Myrick, that this could happen to people. What leverage are you exercising in this 2020 election cycle? I mean, what are you asking of candidates? What do you need them to do?
Well, we're asking candidates for their health care plan. We want to know if they're elected, what they plan to do to help the citizens be able to have
a fundamental right, and that's good health care. And so every candidate will be asked that question. If they don't have a plan, we're not interested in endorsing them. And second to what Teshe said, we have a number of demands on the table to work with UIC in regards to, and UIC management has made it clear that they're not interested in being fair to the UIC employees that make the university run. In one instance, when the budget was at impasse, the UIC workers still showed up every day and did their work and knew that there was nothing that could be done because of that budget impasse. But the university is doing much better now, so they can do much better in regards to their employees. And we want to make sure that we hold them to that.
Let me bring on this caller, if you don't mind, Robert, who wants to speak to SEIU and progressives. Just one moment, Robert. What's on your mind?
Hello.
Hey, Robert. What's on your mind today?
Oh, hi. Yeah, it was wonderful hearing Mike Clute on your show. I'm obviously an active listener to his program up in Milwaukee. What's on my mind is you talked about the progressive lane, Bernie and Warren, and the support from some of the unions, CIU and others. I wanted to bring that back to Illinois 3rd. So there is an election March 17th. I think early voting starts March 2nd. And I'm really hoping people support Marie Newman in that election. There's a big difference between her and the person she's running against. Dan Lipinski is an 8-term congressman who's never passed a bill in Congress. He's been there since 2004. Lipinski voted against Obamacare. He also has some troubling record on immigration, and he's voted 56 times to overturn Roe versus Wade. Running the pro-life caucus. So I'm hoping people will get out, volunteer, vote, phone banks, whatever they can do to help support Marie. If you're for Bernie Sanders or Warren, the more progressive lane in the party, it makes sense to support Marie Newman. That's one thing Amy Klobuchar was right, is whoever the progressive is, they need more progressives around them in Congress to help push through their policies and legislation.
You've said a whole lot. That's important. Thank you so much, Robert. Absolutely. Thank you. How can the public be helpful to you, Diane Palmer and Teshe Myrick? What can we do to help you as you help us?
That the public can stand with the workers at UIC. There's going to be activities where we're going to be public and letting the public know what's really happening at UIC. I believe that when we stand together, we can take on a system that has been rigged against working families and have a stronger voice on issues that affect our families and our jobs. This is not just about the workers at UIC. It's also about the consumers and the patients that use the services of UIC. UIC needs to do the right thing. This is not Memphis. This is Chicago, and Chicago is known for its progressive stance, and we just need to stand together.
Ms. Myrick?
Yes, I am actually piggybacking off Diane. I think the community as a whole can stand with us, back us up. When we're doing these activities, we're going into the public and we're marching. I think they can march with us and show us that they're standing with us. They're standing behind us anyway, because I'm pretty sure we're not the only ones fighting against this system. I'm pretty sure some of their family members are, or they were a part of this system, and they can show that they are trying to help in any way they can. Even if their faces alone would be enough just for us to say there's people that's with us. So the community, the students, other organizations, we need as much help as possible.
Well, I tell you, and I know we want to help you, but we have to first know that you are in these difficulties. Because I happen to read The Guardian, which is a national paper. The national edition is a paper out of England. There's got to be a way. This is where, our independent media becomes so important, and having The Defender, which used to be a daily paper, that becomes very important. Because I bet you, if they were still a daily paper, we would see them. This is where the Crusader becomes so important. And in these times, all of these independent outlets, they become so crucial. And WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, it becomes so important, so vitally important that we stay connected with one another so that we can know what you're dealing with. And not just when you're about to strike or when you are striking. We need to know what your issues are day in and day out. We have to stay organized. Let me get some closing thoughts from you. First, you, to Shay Myrick, and then you, President Diane Palmer. What are your final thoughts? What do you need for us to know, Ms. Myrick?
I need you to know that as a working class employee, I just would like for my company, UIC, to actually dissect our contract and stop stalling with us when we're trying to bargain. We want a fair contract. We want fair bargaining. We also want the UIC community to come together as a whole to help us as well. We want to be treated equal. We want equal pay. We want safety in our workplace. We want to be able to help them so that they can help us. If we stand together, I think that we'll have a great organization. We just need the UIC to stand with us.
President Palmer?
Thank you so much. I think that we are trying to get our message out through shows like yours, flyers, having conversations at community forums. But I want to say that this is not just about the employees at UIC. It's about the public. It's about the students that go to school there. It's about the patients that get their health care at UIC. Our members, UIC employees, want to give the best education they can. They want to give the best care that they can at the university. But they need to have a whole life. They need to make fair wages so that they're able to take care of their families, so that every day when they come to work, they come fit and ready to provide the best services that they can. UIC has resources. They just gave the president over $200,000 raise while we have people that make less than $15 an hour. That's not fair. The employees at UIC are not asking for too much. They're asking for just enough so that they can live a good life and be able to take care of their families. So I say, united we bargain, divided we beg. And I appreciate everybody who takes the time out to listen to the UIC employees.
Everybody, that's SEIU, local number 73, the president, Diane Palmer. So honored to have you with us today. And to Shay Myrick, one of the workers with SEIU. These are the people who help us help ourselves. And I just want to thank you for your work, for the work that you do. And I want you to know you have a home on the Santita Jackson Show.
Thank you so much.
Blessings to you both, everybody. These are the election issues in 2020. These are the election issues. You have low-wage workers who make a hospital bed that they can't stay in themselves. I mean, that's very real. Or they're making real choices between lunch and bus fare. Think about that. A lot of people, $20 is everything. You know, we're going to get Judge Frank Caprio on. Has anyone ever seen Caught in Providence? It's one of my favorite shows in the world. And you've got this really compassionate judge. Fully disclosed, he's someone I've known for a long time. And I'm so glad that he got more than 1 billion hits on YouTube. Because people were so stunned to see a judge who has so much compassion for people. But, you know, he's a child of Italian immigrants who were poor, extremely, extremely poor. And he's remembered those lessons. Now, he and his family have gone on to become very, very successful people. But that's not how he adjudicates, Lady B. As you've seen when I showed you some of the videos, you were shocked, weren't you?
Yes.
I mean, we're going to get him on. I mean, you were shocked when you saw him.
Yes, I was, and how compassionate he is, and he listens. He, you know,
because he's been there before, and I think we have to remember that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have to think about that in this time. People are really, really struggling, and I tell you, I went to just before the show was debuted. I went to his, I guess it was his birthday party / debut party up in Rhode Island, because that's where they live. And as he spoke to the audience, he said, everybody here, because it was a big, fabulous party. His son has a really big, beautiful house, but they're really, really warm, wonderful family. And he said, most people don't, no one here, he said maybe except for people who are helping to take care of us today, knows how much $20 means to someone. $20 can be life and death for a lot of people.
Yes.
He said, so when I am sitting in this chair, that's what I'm thinking. I'm getting on the other side of that. When someone says, "Oh yes, Judge, I'll pay $20 to get my car out of the pound," he's like, he looks at people. He's like, "You don't have that money today, do you? You know you don't. What about $5? I mean, we've seen him do this.
Yeah.
Okay, and then give me $5 next month when you have it again, because you don't have it. I know you don't. It's okay. Justice and mercy, right? Let's balance these scales. Let me go to you, Maine. What's on your mind, my Maine man? How you doing?
Yeah, how you doing? I just happen to have two nurse practitioners, my daughters, and they can't work just one job. One of them had to join the Army Reserve. The other one, anytime I call her, she's either getting off a 15, 16-hour shift, in the bed trying to get some rest, or going back to work. So, and these are nurse practitioners, they're practically doctors. And another thing, they have tuition debts that will take them. I asked my younger, I said, well, how long will it take you to pay this off? The rest of my life. I say, what? The rest of their life, so they paying for the schools, tuitions that they'll have to pay back for the rest of their lives. And I don't think this is, something that should be happening too. That's why I be pushing for free education, free health care. Because, and they work with these nurses and stuff like slaves. They're modern day slaves.
You don't get any objection from me. And that's why, in the 2020 election cycle, I think that people have to vote their hopes, not their fears. Don't let the mainstream media or anyone tell you that you got to blue no matter who and you got to vote for who's going to win. No, 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 no. We can make that decision when we get to Milwaukee in the summertime. Right now, you are fighting, when you are voting in the primary, you are fighting for the platform. You are making a demand about what the party is going to stand for. So because you're voting for delegates, actually, like the Electoral College, you're voting to send delegates to the convention who are going to fight or not fight for the issues that you need them to fight for. So let's be very clear on what this primary process is. So you're going to be sending people, delegates to the convention who, and it looks like, increasingly, it looks like we're going to have a brokered convention. You're sending people to the convention who are going to decide who the candidate's going to be. They're going to decide whether we're going to cut Social Security or not. They're going to decide about health care, Medicare for all or not, whether it's going to be in the platform or not. They're going to make those decisions in Milwaukee this summer. That's why you need to vote. And that's why you need to vote for the person who you believe is going to really advocate for you. Because they may or may not be the nominee. But at least when they get on the floor of that convention, when they get in those caucuses at the conventions, I'm telling you how it works, everybody. You'll have someone who is fighting for your position. That's what you're fighting for. This is not the time for you to decide, oh, well, I'm going to get the moderate because they need to fight Trump. Oh, you want to vote for Bloomberg? Okay, well, then you're going to vote to cut Social Security because that is what he stands for. Now, you might be able to push him away from that position, but the only way you can do that is to have a progressive wave that he cannot, or another moderate cannot ignore. That's what's going to have to happen, everybody. So I'm going to stay here for the after show for a few minutes, and then we're going to keep this going, everybody. But I love you, of course, on Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson this weekend. I think we're going to be talking about Nevada and what's going to happen there and what we should be voting for, what we should be fighting for. And, of course, next week, at the end of the week, Lady B and I are going to South Carolina.
Yes.
We're going to watch that because that's going to be on and cracking. But we'll be here most of the week. You're not going to miss the show on the Santita Jackson Show. Don't worry about that. Everybody, I love you so much. So stay right here on Santita Jackson and Friends for the After Show and on my YouTube channel, The Santita Jackson Show. Like and subscribe. See you tomorrow at Rainbow Push at 9:30 East 50th Street. Come on at 9:30. It's going to be great. And then we have a lot to talk about. And then, of course, Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson on Sunday morning from 7 to 9. Go to keephopealiveradio.com and, of course, the Reverend Jesse Jackson senior page where we will be streaming live. Okay, you all calling in, so you want to talk on the after show? It's all right. It's all good. Love you. Until next week on the Santita Jackson Show. On behalf of me and Lady B and Mateo Cortez.
Mateo.
Is it Zoe over there today? Or is it? No, it's you. Oh, wow. She's been answering the phones on both sides of the glass. Love you, everybody. See ya next week on the Santita Jackson Show.
One and two. She was the second one. She was either one or two. That only got scholarships out of Proviso West. And so, I mean, it's not like, they're not qualified or nothing for to go further. It's just that economics stopped them from going further. This is why I'm for Bernie Sanders about free education, free health care. And Biden, to me, Biden is truly, he's a corporate Democrat. He's corporation first, and that's what people got to understand. And another thing what I can't stand is the news people are trying to give the black people Biden. They say, well, the blacks don't vote for why? Because he was Obama's vice president. Well, Obama, I didn't agree with everything Obama did. To me, Obama should have put up free education, free health care, pay student athletes. He didn't do he wasn't all that progressive as far as I'm concerned, because he could have did what Trump is doing now for the people, what Trump is doing all this for the millionaires and the billionaires. Obama could have did this for the people, knowing that we may not get another black president for who knows when. But he was supposed to be for the people, and he ended up being a more of a corporate Democrat than anything else. And I think I remember him saying that he would have been a Republican back in the 60s or 70s. He kind of favored himself as a 70s or 80s Republican. So the man wasn't all that about people.
Well,
That's what I got.
Well, you know what? I will say this, Mr. Maine. And I hear your frustration, but I think one of the things that one of the takeaways I think from our electing of President Obama, and that was a big deal, because we did crack the color barrier. That having been said, because that's a big deal, what we have to do next time is ask particular questions, because quite frankly we did not do that, and those of us who pushed to do that were called haters. And we were put on ice by black people. Wait a minute. Hold on. Now let's back up now. Back up. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I'm just
Yeah, you're right.
yeah, yeah. So I mean those people who said, "Hey, I don't like the way he does this. I don't like the way he does that." You know, you don't see Tavis Smiley anymore.
Mm-mm.
You almost put Dr. Cornell West on ice. Now maybe they could have critiqued him in another way. It could have been gentler. I don't know. But I'm saying the essence of their critique, many people agree with now. And now they're out of jobs. Well, not Cornell West, but I mean the State of Black America Forum by Tavis Smiley was a big, big, big thing. And you know what? We ran him off the air. We did that. We did that. So let us learn from that because President Obama was a selection of he was one of the Democratic Leadership Council leaders to watch in 2003. That's the right wing of the party. I mean, so I'm not so convinced that maybe they would have elected a progressive black person, maybe not. That having been said, when we tried to push him in the progressive direction, we black people in particular, because white progressives left him at the beginning because they said, "Oh, you're not a progressive," and they kept on going down the street. I went to the Left Forum up in New York, which is one of the biggest progressive gatherings in America, and they were angry within months. But we kept holding on, and well, he was supposed to. No, he never said he was gonna. So now let us learn from that, okay? Instead of focusing our anger, just, because what he ought to be doing, I'll say this, he ought to be out here registering people to vote. Now that's what he ought to be doing. I don't care, he should, and I'm not saying register one party, I'm saying he ought to be registering people to vote because when it was Reverend's turn, really because he invented that role for him. All Reverend did was register people to vote day in and day out. That's all he did, among other things. So there are some things that we need to be requiring of them right now. Eric Holder, right now. Cory Booker, Kamala Harris, right now. We've never had this many black folks in the Senate doing all this stuff with all this profile that these other people paved the way for. Don't ask Reverend to do anything else. He's almost 80 with Parkinson's. We're trying to help him to stand up, and he keeps on pushing, and I'm not mad at him. That having been said, we need to require something of these people who benefited from all of this pushing and dreaming and crying and wishing and hoping and praying. So let's do that.
Put the mantle, the pass the mantle, as they say,
No, pick it up. You already put it on. You put it on, and you went into the White House with it, and you went to head up the Department of Justice, all that stuff. So now, what are you going to do with it? I mean, I need you to do more with it than just have it, because that's not helping me. Because you have 2 daughters, and let me tell you, being a nurse is not some small thing. That's a big, 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 big. That's a big thing. So, because some people might not want to deal with, wait a minute, doctors get sued. In a way, I mean, so nurses are a critical part of the team. In fact, doctors depend upon nurses to tell them, no, what medicines do I need to give them? Because they're the ones who observe the patients. So your daughters did not, they might have wanted to be doctors, and they might be able to go back and do that. They just might have to push a little harder. But in America, your dream should not be thwarted because you don't have enough money, right?
Yeah, but that's how it is. You have the illusion that America, dream the dream and it can come true. You just hard work and determination, perseverance, and all that. But sometimes even that's not enough because of the obstacles that they put before you. And then don't let them have a quota where they say, well, we can only have so many. And then those they pick out is, we only can have 100, and only 7, 8, or 9 of you can be black. That's not too good neither. As you go high up in that ladder of administration and other things, but what I wanted to say about what these nurses do It is very critical because I'm partially disabled. I'm not no, I'm partially paralyzed. I'm fully disabled, and I realize how even the caregivers are important.
Mm-hmm.
I never knew about caregivers until I became disabled. And then I realized, there's certain things that I can't do. Simply like sweeping my floor, or standing to wash my dishes, or taking my garbage out, stuff like that, making my bed. These things, because I got one of those conditions where I've fallen and I can't get up, type thing. So I have to press a button, for somebody to come get me up out of my, off the floor of my apartment. So all these people are important here in America, but they're being treated, as far as their salaries and stuff like that is concerned, like, oh, we're their dime a dozen. Oh, we can get anybody to do that, so we don't have to pay them that much. Like you said, $8, $9, $10 an hour, 12 at the most, maybe 15. Now that we got the law says we have to pay them at least $15 an hour. But they ain't gonna want to pay them no more than that, unless you've been there 20 years, and then we might get you $20 an hour.
Look, you get no pushback from me, but that is why in 2020 you've got to push and let people know what you want and what you require of them for your support. Now is the time to do that. There is time enough when we get to the convention to hammer out who the nominee is supposed to be. That's what you're supposed to do at a convention anyway, right? Now is the time for you to say, no, I want Medicare for all, or you don't want it. Now is the time to do that. Now is the time. Now I want not free college, but college that is subsidized by our tax dollars. Nothing is free. All this stuff is already paid for. You don't see the Pentagon having to beg for a dime. They continue to get they're the only branch of government that does not have to increase its every branch of government must give the money that they do not spend back to the government. They're the only ones who don't have to do that.
Coming out with all kinds of weird machines and tactical or whatever to help blow people up or blow it. And then they have to test these weapons so they start conflicts or whatever, just in order to go out there and say, well, we got this latest bifocals where you can see at night, or this or that, or now we have a gun now that, hell, shoot around the corner, So, yeah, the Pentagon gets all their money and don't give nothing back.
Well, that's why we're the ones who have to push. It's we the people. We're the government, or we choose not to be.
But we have no. This is why we, I'll be on, talking to you and talking to Tom Hartman and whoever else on the weekend. I talk to Ricky Hendon and them, because I want my voice to be heard. Especially like I say when they try to push Biden off on us. Well, the blacks are going to be voting for Biden. Well, the blacks in the Carolinas or whatever, they'll vote for Biden. Well, who said they will? Who's giving us Biden? They're trying to give us Biden because Biden is a corporate Democrat. And when you hear what he says first, he's going to take care of Wall Street, Duluth, downtown LA, Miami, Houston, these bastions of capitalism. You want to take care of them first, then the people. That shows you right there the man is purely a corporate Democrat. And I'm glad he's losing. Because I don't want Biden up there. And I talk against it. But now if you get the nomination, yeah, okay, let's go for it. But we got to keep his feet too. We got to make his feet charcoal.
Oh, right on. My fist is in the air. Well, I mean, I think you have to do that. I think you have to hold well, I don't want to burn his feet. That having been said, you've got to push. You have to push. This is where we are. I mean, look, I told you this is not about love taps. This is real stuff. And this is how we're living. You just heard
and death.
Literally life and death. You just heard one of my callers. She had more than $2,000 a month coming in from Social Security, and they took $600, and no one will give her an answer. And Margie, if you're ever listening, I need you to call me. But more than that, I need you to call your congressman. And if your congressman or congresswoman does not respond to you, then you call me back. And whatever platform I have here, I will use it to be helpful. This is ridiculous. When you have people when you look at people crowdfunding, more than 8 million Americans, I brought this headline to you yesterday, more than 8 million Americans are crowdfunding for their medical bills. The system, this private insurance that everybody wants to hold on to, and you know what, you can have it. If you want to keep it, great. But it's not working for most people who have it. It works for you as long as you are not sick. But when you get sick, it does not work, because you will have a mountain of bills that you will not be able to get out from under.
And people, yeah, they have to, I guess, basically die. I mean, they showing where they have to judge between going to a hospital or getting certain medications or eating or something like that. I mean, this shouldn't be in America. Here we supposed to be the so-called greatest country in the world, but we're not. And then they won't take examples from like Sweden and Denmark or Finland. The first thing they want to say, communism, but socialism. But the first, we the people, the first three words in the Constitution is socialist. We the people. That's a socialist statement. And what's that? To promote the general welfare. That's a socialist statement. To provide what's that? For tranquility. The third part of that, where it says in order to provide for the general welfare, to promote domestic tranquility. That's socialism. But it's a democracy socialism. First thing they want to do, like Biden, well, it says socialism, as though it's communist. It's not communist. This is democracy socialism. There's a difference. You can go in the dictionary and look up most words, and most words have 3, 4, 5 different definitions. So why do we have to have one definition when you say socialism or socialist? Why does there have to be just one definition? Oh, we Russia. Oh, but no, that's the con. The real socialists are the oligarchs and the capitalists, because they have separated themselves from us, and they go call us socialists. Boy, they're the ones who are the socialists, because it's just a few of them that can be oligarchs and capitalists. Something that came to America back during the colonial days. They came and they got on top of our democracy, and they've been there ever since. And now they're trying to make it where this is we the corporation, in order to make more profit, exploited more people. That's what they want to rewrite the Constitution to say, instead of we the people, in order to form a more perfect union. No, they want we the corporation. In order to make more money, we dog y'all out. That's how I see it.
Well, I tell you what, no. And I love your passion, and keep your passion going, because guess what? When you do that, we can make some change. Enough people are not passionate about how we live every day until your Social Security gets cut, until your housing becomes unaffordable and you have to leave Chicago. We're going to do one of these stories very, very soon on why hundreds of thousands of African Americans have left Chicago. You do know that diminishes our political power. Chicago has sent more black people to the House of Representatives and the Senate than any state in the Union. We have had more black elected officials on a federal level than any city or state in the Union, because of segregation. I'm not saying segregation okay, it gave us some good things. I'm not going to say that it's good for you because no one should be denied an opportunity because of their color or their background at all. But what I'm saying is that is what it forced us to come together and get representation. But now it's like we're being scattered to the four winds. Something to think about. Just something to think about. But I want you to keep thinking and give your daughters my love. So excited for them. Excited for all that they're going to, what all else that they're going to do. I mean, first of all, they've given you so much joy by making you so proud of them. I mean, come on now, you know that gives a child joy.
Well, and look, I got a son who's an engineer, but he's a safety engineer. But I said, well, why don't you go on? He said, man, I'm not paying, because he had a full ride scholarship. And he said, no, that's as far as the money don't take me because I'm not paying for nothing. The man could have been an astrophysicist. He could have been working on stuff to go out into space or whatever. That's the kind of mind he has.
But the thing is, I tell you what, Maine, he can still do that. Because at some point, what he can do, since he has that kind of mind and that kind of push and drive, he should just go on and do it. And then when he gets there, he can help affect change. Okay? Look at it another way. Sometimes we have to get on the other side of it, right? That's okay. Just turn around. Why don't you just, since you have that, my pastor, Reverend Clay Evans, said, God never gives you a vision without making provision. In other words, when God has given you the vision, it's already done. Now it's your faith walk that gets you there. Now when your son gets there, should he choose to still go there, then what he can do is say, now you know what? It should not be the next person behind me shouldn't have this many impediments. So what I'm going to do now that I'm here and I can speak to the people who can influence this process, I'm going to turn things around. That's what you do. Instead of becoming embittered by the process, become better be bettered by it. Okay? No, but I'm saying don't you even get upset about it. Tell him, son, if this is what you really, really want to do, God has already opened the door for you now. You just need to go and do it. That's all. If your daughters really want to be physicians, even though, like I said, being a nurse ain't no slouch, they should just go on and do it. Go on and do it. And then they can get in there and help change the system because they can already do that as nurses. So, I'm just saying it's just food for thought. It's just food for thought.
Yeah. I throw some things up like this out at them, but the first thing they talk about is cost. And now that they're getting old, like I'm 68, so 20 years. My oldest daughter's like she'll be 40. She'll be 40. They'll be 20 years apart, so she'll be 48. Then my other daughter, she's 11 years under her, so that makes up 37. And so they're getting older, and they're not so much wanting to get in them books like.
Honey, they can go on and do it. Reverend Dr. Joan Brown Campbell, who became the first woman to be the secretary of the World Council of Churches, went back to school at 50. So you can do whatever it is that you want to do. Yeah, people do what they want to do. We all absolutely do what it is, Maine, that we want to do. If we don't want to do something, it's because deep down we didn't want to do it. If we go on and do something, it's because deep down we wanted to do it. So you just remain encouraging to them, as you have been, because look at all that you've encouraged them to do, and look at what they've become. Think about that. Okay?
I'm going to say, man, I got these top nurses, I got an engineer, and then my other son, he has one of the most important jobs in the United States, if not the world. He has one of the most important jobs, actually, I said, because he's a garbage man.
Absolutely. Hey. Okay?
It's shocking. They say, think about it. No matter how,
right.
don't let them come pick your garbage up for a couple of weeks and see what it be like. In your alleys and stuff like that. So this is one of the most important jobs in the world. He didn't get the brains, but
yes, he did. He got all of that. You've got brilliance everywhere. You've got it everywhere. You got it everywhere. And just, you know what? And remember, after it's all said and done, for all their professional accomplishments, I just pray that they're good people, and I'm sure that they are. Because at the end of the day, all you need, all that you, only what you do for Christ will last. And that is to say, if Christianity is not your belief system, for everybody who's listening or watching, guess what? You got to be a good person. Just go on and do that. That is the key. Because if you have all the professional accomplishments and you are rotten in your soul, something is not right. So that
Yeah.
that I'm just, I'm done with that. After that, if you're not a good person, it doesn't matter. So why don't we all try to be good people, and then let us do what God has commanded us to do, and the world will be a much better place. Because you know what? Sometimes, everybody, your ministry might be your family. You might have come to this earth to be a great father, a great mother, a great sister, a great brother, a great godmother. I mean, oh, I didn't get married, I didn't have kids. Oh, well, you know what? Did you want to marry the wrong person and have kids and be miserable? Stop. No. What we have to do is think of, just be content in all these things that God has given us. And just go on and become the best person you can be. And see where that leads you. See where that leads you. Mr.
Yeah.
Bain, I want you to give us your final thought.
Yeah. Well, speaking of education, on the west and south sides, because of how we've been destituted with the redlining since 1968. I remember when they did it after King was assassinated, and then they tore up the west and south sides, and then the loop said, we're not going to invest any more money on the western side. We're going to redline the west. We have been redlining for 52 years now.
Mm-hmm.
52 years. They talk about the redlining in the debates in New York, but we've been under redline here on the western south side for 52 years, and no one. And I've been waiting for. Lightfoot to say something, but nobody wants to say anything about the redlining here in Chicago. That's another thing I'm gonna get on their butts about. What's up with this? Y'all gonna lift this thing or not? Y'all gonna get and then they take our money, they take our TIF money. This last billion they want to use here to make this new loop here on the north side, so that they can use it for sidewalks and stuff like that. When they do, because Ron Emanuel had this vision of making another loop here on the north side, and when you go up to the towers on the Sears or the Hancock building, and you look west and south, and you can see the barrenness, and then you look northwest and north, and you see cranes going up all over you. I mean, you got these sky cranes all over the place where they're just building and building and building. But you look due west and south, and it's barren. So we still living under this red line in here in Chicago that needs to be lifted. And Lightfoot ain't said nothing.
Well, we don't know. Well, let me to be fair. The thing is, you have to apply political pressure, because other people are applying pressure to her. We don't quite know all that she has said, because everything that she says doesn't make the news. And what we have to do is push. You can't just put that on. You can't just elect someone and expect them just to go like this, because it doesn't work like that, Mr. Maine. It doesn't. What we have to do, no, no. What you have to do, but Mr. Maine, what you have to do is organize and get involved in organizations that can apply political pressure. That's what you do. Do that. One person is not going to do anything. It's when we come together collectively that we affect change. That's what we do. Because believe me, other people are pushing her to do this, that, and the other. Because other folks understand how politics works. I don't know how it is that we've forgotten. I don't understand that. Well, just come on. You know what? Come on over to Rainbow Push, okay? Let's organize some people. Or it might be another organization that works for you. But get organized. Get one person, each one, teach one, reach one. Pull people in and get them involved. That's the only way you're going to get what it is that you need, let alone what you want. Because other people, when you get into office, that is when you find out, oh my goodness, there is a system here. Wait a minute, you get to Congress and you find that wait, once you've won the seat, you're running for it again. Now you got to raise money. And not only do you have to raise money, you have to raise money for the party first. This is what I saw when my brother got to Congress, although I kind of knew that before he got there. You got to raise money for the party. Then you got to raise money. You are on the grind always. Oh, and then you got to figure out a place to live in a city that is one of the most expensive cities on earth, and that's Washington, D.C. I'm just saying, you just keep on going with this thing. We have to find out first, Mr. Maine, how things work. But one thing that we know as Chicagoans is we understand politics. And you have to understand that nothing happens unless we make it happen. And you have to get organized. Mass action works. And what's mass? It's a whole lot of people coming together and making things happen. That's what we have to do. Okay? Now I'm giving you a big hug. I'm going to get on out of here today. But I want you to give my love to your wonderful children.
And I appreciate you allowing me to come on there so that at the end and to continue to talk to me after the show.
I do whatever it is that I can, Mr. Maine.
Yeah. Well, that's like my nickname. I'm Miller.
Okay, sweetie. But give my love to your family, and thank you for listening to the show. That means so much.
Every morning, every day, I'm 6 days a week. I'm on top of WCPT. And I call my particular people, like I say, you, Tom Hartman, and Ricky Hendon, and a few others that I try to get in. Sometimes I don't get in. But to me, being like I am partially paralyzed and fully on disability, but this is where my fight is at, right here. I mean, because how many people did I reach with you? What's the numbers that listen to you? And if they hear my voice, then to me, maybe I encourage someone. They say, well, you now heard Maine on Anita's show, and he said, and maybe this is where the voice cried out in the wilderness. This is how I feel like I am. And so that's why I have to make my points dead on, hard hitting, and quick and to the point, because I know I only have 30, 45 seconds or whatever to make my point.
You got much more than that today. How about that?
Thank you.
And you take care of I want to see you at Push one of these Saturdays, okay?
Okay.
And there's an elevator there so you can get upstairs. Okay?
And they're located in Jackson?
At 930 East 50th Street in Hyde Park, right off of Drexel, right off of 50th and Drexel.
Oh, okay. Boston Air will take me right there.
Yes, so come on over. And organize some people and come on over. Some people have been organizing. You just haven't been connected to them. How about that? Okay, you got to get involved. You got to get involved. You got to get involved. And you make things happen. I think calling you into a radio station is important. But it is very important that you get involved and get other people involved. Okay? I'm sending you big kiss and much love. All right, thank you, sweetie. Oh, now see, I like that very much. Thank you. All right, sweetie, right on. Oh my goodness, I love it. I'm not mad. Bless your heart. I'm gonna go. Everybody, I love you. Hope to see you at Rainbow Push tomorrow morning at 930 East 50th Street at 9:30 a.m. We come up on the air at 10 o'clock in the morning. And you should come on. We always have a lot of great inspiration and a lot of information at the Rainbow Push Forum. And then, of course, I will be with Reverend Jesse Jackson on Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. Can't wait to see what we're going to talk about on Sunday on the nationally televised, nationally, well, certainly we're on Facebook. So come on to the Reverend Jesse Jackson Senior page, and of course I'm going to share it on my page, the Santita Jackson and Friends page, as we talk about, of course, the political season and getting you registered to vote. But of course, we'll be talking about Nevada and this debate. Oh gosh, this has been so great. Oh, wonderful time to be in talk radio. I love you, everybody. Mr. Maine, sending you much love. Everybody, Bab, and of course, Chaparral's in Facebook jail, harassing people. Therese. And let me see. Woo, so many of you have come over here. Linda and Vicky, yes, and Davisi, Muhammad, thank you. Bab, I already gave you a shout out, my love. And let me see, Lindia and Lorraine and Michael Ann, aloha. Cedric, hey, sweetie. And let me see, parental control. Who knew? That's too rich. Deborah Denise Black. And, oh, Laura. McCollin Mac Morris is watching. Tony McCumber, my sweetie. Gary Marcello. And Rory Marcello. Hey, hey, y'all. And so many of you have joined us, and you join us every day, and I'm so grateful. So feel so blessed. Lady B, you want to say goodbye to everybody?
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Okay. He's gonna holler at you when you're with his man Rick. Love you, sweetie. We're out of here. Love you, love you, love you. All right, baby. Bye bye. God bless you, everybody. I'll see you on Monday on the Santita Jackson Show. In the meantime, I will see you, like I said, at Rainbow Push tomorrow morning at 9:30. 10 o'clock is when we come up on the air on the Impact Network and on Facebook Live and every place else. And then, of course, on the Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson radio show. I love you, everybody. See you here on Monday.